Thank you so much. Good day, good afternoon to everyone. First, I would like to just briefly mention some logistical aspects. We have simultaneous translation today, ensured both in Romanian and in English. So for those of you who want to follow Romanian translation, just click on the button interpretation at the bottom of this Zoom room, and then you can choose Romanian. I will also say this in Romanian. Bună ziua tuturor! Dacă doriți să accesați varianta de traducere simultană în limba română, puteți accesa căsuța de interpretare din fereastra de Zoom în partea de jos a ecranului. Alegeți limba română sau limba engleză în funcție de dorință. Mulțumesc! So warm welcome to everyone for today's consultations on the design of the Brewing the Black Sea program. This is a regional initiative to tackle marine pollution and climate change in support of the common maritime agenda for the Black Sea. The co-hosts of today's event are the World Bank, together with the Permanent International Secretariat of the Organization of the Black Sea Economic Cooperation, BSEC, which is acting as the executing entity of the Brewing the Black Sea Regional Project, supported by the World Bank. And we also have with us today as co-hosts the Ministry of Environment, Waters and Forests of Romania, which have been actively engaged in a continuous dialogue with the World Bank in the water and in the environment fields over the years. The opening session will provide some brief opening remarks and some welcome addresses from 5 distinguished speakers that we are honored to have with us. After the opening session, the first technical presentation will deal with the regional good practice, the integrated nutrient pollution control project implemented by the Ministry of the Environment, Waters and Forests of Romania with the support of the World Bank. The second session will present the concept of the regional Brewing the Black Sea program, and the specific focus will be addressed on its analytical component. The third session will focus on the investment component of the planned Brewing the Black Sea project. And lastly, we will have a wrap-up of the discussions and some closing remarks. We do hope this will be an engaging and a participatory event. We are glad to have over 100 participants confirmed for this meeting, and we also have this event live streamed on social media and will also be accessible as a recording afterwards. The participants of today include Government of Romania representatives, relevant ministries, public authorities, policymakers, technical experts related to coastal, to marine environment, to research, to blue economy development, as well as private entities and financial institutions that are working on climate change and marine pollution. So we do hope this will be a successful event. We do invite all of you to participate in the Q&A sessions, in the polls, in the quizzes that we have prepared specially for you. But without further ado, let me open the session by inviting His Excellency, Ambassador Michael Christides, the Secretary General of the Permanent International Secretariat, PERMIS, of the Organization of the Black Sea Economic Cooperation. Your Excellency, we have the word.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. You made a very comprehensive and insightful introduction. So I will be very brief, as you asked all of us to be during our welcoming remarks to this very particular and let me say also very significant event. We will be asking stakeholders from Romania to participate in the design of this famous now Brewing the Black Sea program, which is a project funded by the Global Environment Facility and supported by the World Bank. And as you said, mainly it is in support of another project, a regional cooperation project, which is the Common Maritime Agenda, in which all our member states, all the literal member states of our organization were involved in its finalization, and of course also our secretariat. So a lot has changed, but perhaps much more should be changing in our region if we want to address the ever increasing problem of pollution and climate change in our region. We have to do much more, and this is why we attach great importance to today's meeting, because it gives the opportunity to all stakeholders to use another mechanism, another very welcome mechanism for addressing these very important issues of pollution and climate change. We are an organization that promotes regional cooperation, so that we are more than happy that the World Bank has selected the BSEC organization for the implementation of this project, and of course also for the preparation of the meetings that have already started taking place in the member states involved. Not only those in which initially this project will be eventually implemented, which are the 4 GEF eligible countries, Turkey, Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine, but also with the participation of all other littoral member states to the Black Sea. We already had, if I'm not mistaken, 5 similar events with huge participation from all the stakeholders in these member states. So we are looking forward to the active involvement also from our friends in Romania, which is a very important member state of BSEC, but also a very important state in what concerns initiatives for fighting the issues, the problems I just mentioned. Before closing, I want to thank my colleagues, especially Rosita Stoiva, but also all the colleagues from the World Bank, Mrs. Berenger Prince and others, who have from the beginning cooperated very much and closely in order to make all this, let me say, initiative seem much more close to its implementation today than it was almost a year back when we first discussing on this issue. So it is a program that will be defined by you, by the involvement and the active participation of everybody interested to give his views and his suggestions. So it is not, I mean, we don't just want to have an audience here, but we want to have a participating and actively involved audience. This is very much so. So I said I would be brief, and I will stop here. But before stopping, I want to show you 2 photographs which can say more than the 1,000 words that I have used in order to convince you about the significance of this event. These are 2 photographs from a world-known British photographer, Mr. Carl Taylor, which I believe are very, very compelling and depict in almost a dramatic way the problem that we have created, not only for our generation, but for the generations to come. We and the generations to come are sitting on an ocean of ocean and sea pollution, mainly of plastics, but not only. And it is high time that we do everything that is in our power in order to address these issues. Mr. Taylor has given us the permission to use these 2 photographs in all the relative events that are connected to the implementation of the project Brewing the Black Sea. We thank him for that, and I hope that with these very compelling images and giving the floor back to you, we will all be involved in today's event in the way that I kindly asked you to. Please come forward with ideas, with suggestions, and with proposals. So thanks again for having this privilege to open this very important meeting. And I give the virtual microphone back to you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, thank you so much. These are very powerful messages and definitely a testimony of the exciting work that this Blowing the Black Sea Regional Project is supposed to deliver upon and to tackle some of the major issues that we are being confronted with. Thank you once again. And I'd like now to introduce Mr. Ionuț Sorin Banciu. He's a Secretary of State at the Ministry of Environment, Waters and Forests of Romania. State Secretary, you have the word.
Hello, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the Black Sea Economic Cooperation Organization and to the World Bank for organizing this webinar dedicated to a new regional project addressing the improvement of the Black Sea marine environment. I am convinced that it's our common belief that the Black Sea is a place of natural beauty with hundreds of species of plants, animals, and fabulous landscapes on its almost 5,000 kilometers shoreline. But unfortunately, it is considered to be one of the most environmentally endangered water bodies in the world. Moreover, talking about the major environmental problems of the Black Sea, we must emphasize eutrophication, changes in marine living resources, chemical pollution, including oil and biodiversity, habitat changes, including alien species introduction. The underlying causes of environmental degradation are various. Particularly detrimental are the overexploitation of natural resources, the invasion of exotic species, and increase in chemical nutrients conducting to eutrophication. Taking into account the situation, the Black Sea countries undertook consistent international efforts for the environmental protection of this sea. In this respect, countries from the Black Sea region have established in 1992 the Black Sea Economic Cooperation Organization, focusing on multilateral political and economic initiatives, with one of its activities dedicated to the environmental protection. Also, the Convention on the Protection of the Black Sea Against Pollution was signed in Bucharest in 1992, therefore being called and known as the Bucharest Convention. This instrument aims to protect the marine ecosystem against pollution from atmosphere, marine and land-based sources. The signatory countries, Bulgaria, Georgia, Romania, the Russian Federation, Turkey, and Ukraine, ratified the convention, which came into force in 1994, along with 4 additional protocols. Furthermore, a ministerial declaration was signed by ministers of environmental protection from Bulgaria, Georgia, Romania, Russian Federation, Turkey, and Ukraine in Odessa in 1993. This declaration expresses the political obligation regarding the protection and sustainable use of the Black Sea resources, and also specifies practical steps to be taken on the implementation of the Bucharest Convention. Thus, signing the Convention on the Protection of the Black Sea Against Pollution, followed closely by the first Black Sea Ministerial Declaration, inspired the Global Environment Facility to formulate the long-term Black Sea Strategic Action Plan. The support focus on sustainable development, coastal zone management, protection of habitats and marine ecosystems, and sustainable exploitation of resources. Despite all these efforts and initiatives, the cooperation within the Black Sea region still needs further enhancements in order to reach the proposed vision. The end goal is to preserve its ecosystem as a valuable natural endowment of the region, whilst ensuring the sustainable use of its marine and coastal resources for the economic development, well-being, health, and security of the population of the riparian states. In this respect, we believe that environmental protection should be taken into account for any new economic development in all Black Sea states. On the other hand, a more intensive process for the harmonization of the environmental legislation is needed. We consider that the EU should be much more involved in addressing the environmental issues in this region, especially in the context of the Black Sea becoming adjacent to the EU region after the accession of Romania and Bulgaria to the EU. In our opinion, the involvement should not only address financial assistance, but also better coordination and strategic planning. The implementation of the Water Framework Directive, and particularly the Marine Strategy Directive, is a real challenge in the Black Sea, where we are only 2 EU member states. Moreover, we will have to face the new challenges of climate change, plastic pollution, and biodiversity loss. In this respect, we very much welcome the involvement of the Global Environment Facility and World Bank in the joint efforts to implement blue economy into the Black Sea. We have a long and positive experience on the cooperation with the World Bank at national level. Also, we consider that the knowledge and skills of the international experts, as well as the exchange of experience, will be beneficial for a new beginning in the protection of the Black Sea marine environment sector. In this regard, I would like to mention Romania's experience with the implementation of the project Integrated Control of Nutrient Pollution. The finance provided by the Global Environment Facility during 2002 and 2007 period represented the start for testing the best solution to reduce Danube and Black Sea pollution with nitrates from agricultural sources. Subsequently, with the financial support and expertise of the World Bank, Romania has developed a series of projects and thus becoming a national program to reduce pollution with nutrients from agricultural sources. This program, implemented since 2008, in addition to promoting efficient investments for the protection of water and soil resources, strengthened the national legislation, the national system for monitoring, control, and reporting on water quality. Also, during these years, national public awareness campaigns were carried out on the importance of water resource protection. The experience gained by Romania in implementing these projects can certainly prove useful for other countries bordering the Black Sea. Therefore, we are willing to share our experience in developing and replicating similar projects. Let me conclude by expressing our appreciation regarding the synergic role of the Global Environmental Facility on increasing interregional cooperation in solving global environmental problems, for bringing together all actors involved, also for facilitating a unified approach to global issues. Last but not least, we welcome the efforts made in funding these projects with important financial resources from the international financial institutions, Group for Environmental Protection. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. State Secretary, for your kind words addressed. I would now like to give the floor to Ms. Galina Vincelet. She's the World Bank's Country Director for the European Union, based in Brussels. She is responsible for guiding the bank's operational and knowledge engagement with client countries and the EU institutions. Please.
Thank you very much. Mr. State Secretary Ionuț Zorin Banciu, Your Excellency Ambassador Christides, esteemed participants and colleagues, I'm truly delighted to be here today and to welcome you to this important event, the Brewing the Black Sea program. As already mentioned, this is a regional initiative to tackle marine pollution in the Black Sea, and it is an important initiative. And what a great opportunity to carry the first of its kind consultations in Romania today on Earth Day. In the past 20 years, the Black Sea has been one of Europe's most polluted seas. And the ambassador really showed the dramatic picture through the photographs that shared with us. Obviously, it is a common problem, but it's not a simple one to tackle, and it requires a common and coordinated regional solution. So I really look forward today for discussing the question among partners. How can we work together in Romania to depollute the Black Sea and join efforts at the regional level towards these common objectives? The World Bank Group work in Romania is governed by a country partnership framework, which in this round lasts until 2023. The main focus of this engagement is helping the country build institutions fit for a prosperous and inclusive Romania. We aim to maximize the benefits of finance for development, including leveraging additional resources like better absorption of European Union funds, and contribute to regional and global public goods. By addressing pollution in the entire Black Sea region, our country program is helping us achieve exactly that. So our work in Romania is very much in line with the objectives also of the European Union Green Deal and the Black Sea Synergy. by identifying common solutions for common challenges and seizing regional opportunities like this one to bolster the sustainable blue economy, building environmental resilience, and fostering cross-border cooperation, including in the Danube region. Addressing pollution in estuaries and coastal areas is a very important part of the answer to the depollution question. Eutrophication, the main culprit of freshwater and marine pollution, is primarily driven by nitrogen and phosphorus, which are discharged into water bodies as a result of livestock and agricultural activities. The excessive nutrients in the waterways lead to low oxygen conditions that impact fish habitats. Recognizing the importance of reducing the level of nutrient pollution flowing to the Black Sea and counteracting eutrophication, since 2007, my colleagues at the World Bank have been working closely with the Romanian Ministry of Environment, Waters and Forests, and the State Secretary mentioned the work under the Integrated Nutrient Control Project. The aim of the project, and I want to focus a little bit on the project because the benefits and the benefits we've seen that it has delivered are important not only for Romania, but also for the knowledge that is being shared outside of Romania, outside of the European Union, to the rest of the Black Sea nations. So the aim of the project is reducing nutrient discharge, promoting changes in farming practices and behavior at the community level, and strengthening the institutional and the regulatory capacity at the national level. The project supports farmers by providing small-scale infrastructure and community facilities for manure management and biogas recovery for reduction of nutrient discharge, as well as systems for monitoring the level of nutrient pollution in water bodies. In the past 4 years, the project has helped thousands of farmers by establishing local knowledge transfer networks and upgrading national agricultural policies. Importantly, the project is helping Romania meet the requirements under the EU Nitrates Directive. And the State Secretary again mentioned that this is an integral part of the Water Framework Directive and one of the key instruments in the protection of waters against agricultural pressures. By directly supporting small and medium-scale farmers in Romania, who may not otherwise have had the capacity to invest in pollution reduction infrastructure, the project has provided concrete and practical solutions that have further helped farmers gain access to financing outside of the scope of the project. With 109 platforms already built, more than 30,000 farmers have directly benefited from the project. Of course, behavioral change is key to sustainable reform, and behaviors are already changing. With more than 21,000 hectares of land area where sustainable land management practices have been adopted as a result of this project. So these are results that we are very proud of. We stand by Romania and congratulate for achieving this. These are only first steps into tackling a far deeper and far more complex agenda. Going forward, the success of this project in pollution reduction in Romania will serve as a replicable model based on the BBC platform in countries beyond the EU. Meanwhile, the capacity building approach under the Integrated Nutrient Pollution Control Project can serve as a value multiplier to other development projects in Romania, including in the sustainable blue economy in the Danube and the Black Sea regions. With the launch of the Blue in the Black Sea program consultations today, Romania becomes a part of the regional force in tackling climate mitigation issues and pollution. Today's presentations and consultation further underscore Romania's critical role in this regional effort. In closing, I would like to thank all the partners that are around the virtual table here today, the Blexi Economic Cooperation, the government of Romania, all of my World Bank colleagues that have put a lot of thought, effort, and work into organizing this important event, and wish you success today, but more importantly, success going forward as we continue to roll out consultation workshops in other countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Galina, for these encouraging words. These are very much appreciated. And I would like to now give the floor to Mrs. Ksenia Lvovsky. She's the practice manager for environment, natural resources, and blue economy in Europe and Central Asia, Sustainable Development Department of the World Bank. Please, Ksenia.
Thank you, Cosmin. Your Excellency, Ambassador Christides, Mr. State Secretary, Ionut Sorin-Banchu, and all distinguished participants and colleagues to join this event today. I'm really delighted to join you for this consultation on the Blue as a Blexi program. Which happens in a country that really was at the onset of this program itself. There were several speakers before me noted that Black Sea pollution problem has major economic, social, public health, environmental implications for all Black Sea countries. The sea currents and winds carry pollution across marine boundaries and flows of wastewater and nutrients from one country affect marine and coastal assets in another country. So it's a really regional problem, and I look forward to deliberating with all of you today on how we can find better common solutions to the common problems of the Black Sea. Black Sea is also a semi-enclosed water body, so it's particularly affected to build up on concentration of pollutants from wastewater and nutrient discharges in particular, as well as plastic and other marine pollution because of limited exchange with open ocean. So the countries of Black Sea really face significant challenges of making the sea bluer and ensuring that marine and coastal assets remain important source of jobs, opportunities, tourism, and climate resilience for all populations in those countries around Black Sea. And the countries realize it very well. And that's why Black Sea countries joined actually in Bucharest about 2 years ago to sign up to the Common Maritime Agenda for the Black Sea, which under the leadership of Romania, who at the time held the chairmanship of the EU, held the EU presidency. And that visionary act by the countries, spearheaded by Romania, really created a foundation to the consultation today. So the road actually started in Romania 2 years ago, because the Blue and the Black Sea program was inspired and guided by the Common Maritime Agenda for the Black Sea. And the World Bank and Black Sea Economic Commission just kind of decided to support the Common Maritime Agenda through developing this program, also with support from the Global Environmental Facility and the World Bank's ProBlue program. One aspect which I would like to add, it's the importance of this program, not only to the economic well-being of the population along a Black Sea coast, but also to global issue of climate change and to the European Green Deal. The research shows that oceans and seas plays a bigger role in shrinking world's carbon footprint. It could deliver up to 21% of annual greenhouse gas emissions cuts needed by 2050 to limit global temperatures rise to no more than 1.5 Celsius. The oceans and seas produce half of the planet's oxygen, and they absorb 90% of the world's anthropogenic heat, just moderating and really controlling Earth's temperature rise. But this only happens when oceans and seas are healthy, when they have healthy ecosystems. When they are polluted, the ability of these oceans and seas to play this function is compromised and even can be reversed. We find that polluted areas can actually emit emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, rather than absorb it. So I just wanted to highlight this linkage. But note that both global and regional solutions, as those around the Black Sea, have to translate into national programs, policies, and investments that would promote sustainable growth in countries that undertake them, like in Romania and its neighbors. In this context, again, I would like to highlight the linkages we see between this program and the European Green Deal and the Next Generation EU funds, which could provide a really important opportunity to support transformation of economies like Romania to become greener and also bluer in managing its maritime and coastal assets. In closing, I just would like to affirm the World Bank commitment to support Romania in this effort to enhance the economic value of its coastal and marine assets and make tourism more resilient. And the Black Sea
marine și pentru ca zona Mării Negre să
Country Director Galina already gave an example of a wonderful project that Romania implementing, which we would like to use an example for many other countries around Black Sea, but also globally, and also build on this excellent example with Romania to further expanding this type of programs and support. So let me conclude with a special thanks to Black Sea Economic Commission, to the government of Romania, and to our other partners, and to World Bank colleagues who organized this event, and to everyone who joined, and really wish you very active participation and useful outcomes that we would take forward. And best success in this event, and also in implementation of this ambitious Blue in the Black Sea program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ksenia. These are much appreciated words. I would like now to give the floor to Mrs. Irina Makarenko. She is a Pollution Monitoring and Assessment Officer at the Permanent Secretariat to the Commission on the Protection of the Black Sea Against Pollution. Ms. Makarenko, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson, Your Excellencies, colleagues from partner organizations, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great pleasure and honor for me to deliver a welcome address on behalf of the Executive Director of the Blexi Commission's Permanent Secretariat. And I would like now to extend my gratitude to our Romanian hosts, to our partners from BSEC, and of course the World Bank, for all their efforts to organize this important event and for inviting us and other relevant stakeholders. We are witnessing now a great regional achievement. I mean here the launching of the Brewing the Black Sea program by our partners, an initiative that will contribute to the regional knowledge on sources, prevention and mitigation of key marine pollutants in the Black Sea, as well as will help us to further increase the interaction and exchange of information and experts within our region. It will also help us to share the best practices on the topics of our common concern, to develop a science-based and as well as the well-informed decision-making. And I think today is indeed a great chance for all of us to make our first step towards our joint actions, to implement the important documents that were signed. They were mentioned today already. I mean here the Black Sea Research and Innovation Agenda. I mean here the National Blue Growth Agendas, and of course, to contribute to the Common Maritime Agenda in the Black Sea region. As you may know, I represent the Blexi Commission, which as was kindly mentioned by His Excellency Romanian Secretary of State, was created as an executive body to implement the provisions of the Bucharest Convention, or we call it the Convention on the Protection of the Black Sea Against Pollution, which was ratified by all the Black Sea riparian countries back in 1994. Since then, the Blexi Commission plays a major role in addressing the similar issues of the conservation of the environment of the Black Sea, and maybe, of course, considered as an important regional instrument of the environmental law. As you may also know, initially, our activities were focused mainly on the marine pollution control, but over the years, we managed to put on our agenda the issues of biodiversity, integrated coastal zone management, climate change, marine litter, and many others. We made substantive achievements in this regard, but still, despite the ongoing efforts of all Black Sea riparian countries and all the organizations present today, environmental deterioration continues and is being now significantly affected by the global and the regional political, social, and economic realities. Let me inform you that during the recent years, the Blexi Commission and its partners managed to put some important issues on our agenda. Because of the lack of time that we have, I will not be mentioning all of them. Let me just emphasize now that the Blexi Commission is welcoming the progress of Romania and also Bulgaria in implementation of the provisions of the relevant water directives, and is also reiterating the importance to share this experience with other Black Sea riparian countries who now took commitments to approximate their legislation to the European acquis communautaire. I wish to underline our intention to further implement dedicated activities to improve implementation of these directives and to contribute the harmonization of approaches with our regional seas. In this context, the Blexi Commission welcomes the launching of the Brewing the Black Sea program. We indeed see a great potential and a great need to implement the dedicated activities, and we support the efforts of World Bank and other partners aimed at successful implementation of the common maritime agenda in the Black Sea region. I strongly believe that this experience of our successful collaboration in the region will inspire us to continue an open dialogue on all the issues of concern, and that our relations will be further enriched by the new ideas and initiatives. Concluding my address, let me wish success to these national consultations and to our future endeavors aimed at maintaining sustainable blue growth in the Black Sea region. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much. And with these concluding remarks, I would like to thank you very much once again to all the distinguished speakers that have taken the floor today. Before we wrap up, I would like to invite everyone to a traditional family photo, as we call it. So please, all the participants that are connected, we invite them to open up their cameras just for some seconds before we take the family photo. This will be published on the website of the event afterwards. So we really hope we will put on the best smiles and we take these family photos that will remember us in the future of this incipient consultation event that we had. Rosica, please let us know once you take the right photo, and then we can proceed to the next technical sessions.
All right.
Don't forget to smile.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you so much once again to all the distinguished panelists. We will move now to the next session, which is the first technical session of the event. But before we deep dive into this first technical session, I would like to now introduce Paola Agustini. She is the lead natural resources management specialist at the World Bank, and she will present you a snapshot of the background and the development context of the Brewing the Black Sea program, outlining some of its objectives and the building blocks. And these will be further presented into more details during the upcoming sessions, which will also include, as I mentioned, an interactive survey, a poll, and quizzes to receive some of your initial feedback on the program design objectives. Paola, over to you.
Thank you very much, Cosmin, and ladies and gentlemen, it's a real pleasure to be here with you in these consultations. So going directly, next slide, please. I just want to mention what the World Bank defines as the definition of the blue economy, that really it's bluing all the ocean sectors from shipping, to ports, to tourism. It's really the equivalent of what we normally call the green and sustainable development, and now it's the blue for the oceans. Next slides. We already mentioned that everything started with the SRIA and the signing of the Common Maritime Agenda. I take particular pride in saying that I was there together with my colleagues Cesar and Cosmin at the launch of the signing of the SRIA and the signing of the Common Maritime Agenda. As you might see, I put on this, many of you will recognize it, that was given to us. It's a foulard that was given to us at one of these big events. So just to say that I was there, and that was an impressive moment that was really achieved under the Romania chairmanship of the European Union. So I want to really thank you, Romania, for the work done in this occasion that set the stage for a much longer term vision of those countries. So next slide. So basically, what is the Brewing the Blexi program? So we are going to focus on really pollution, because you have an ocean, and we think that the most important thing is to secure that the assets that we have, and the ocean is the main asset, is healthy. And after that, once we secure it's healthy and it's not polluted, we can build many investments on it. And the way the program is built, it has three major pillars. One, which are the investments, the IBRD investment, the loans that the country are taking. The second one is a pillar which is more related to analytical work. And it's really diagnostic on pollution, and you will hear everything about it to understand what are really the sources and what can be done, both in technical terms, but also the policy and institutional reforms that needs to be done. And then we do have the new GF projects that is going to really address some of the issues, and trying to work on innovation and innovative ideas on how to solve these issues. So these three pillars really go together, and they all constitute the Brewing the Blexi program. Next slide. This is just a snapshot for you to understand all the things that are happening under this umbrella of Brewing the Blexi program. And as you can see, some of them are ongoing. In some places we have analytical work, in other we have investments, in other we have a GF, but it's all together that they count. And if we look at particularly in Romania, we will hear about and we heard about it already, the nutrient pollution projects, that it's really the IBRD loan that has done so many good things in terms of reducing the very bad issues of pollution. We have some analytical work that we are providing to the government related to water, related to flood risk management. And we have a regional BBC program that will, in general, be there for exchange of knowledge and workshop, and really trying to bring together the experience of Romania also to other countries. So next. With that, I think that I'm now going to pass the floor to my colleague Cesare Nicolescu. He doesn't need any introductions in Romania. He has really been, he's a senior environmental specialist, but has been a pillar of all our work in Romania for many years, and not only Romania, but also in other countries of the Black Sea. So with that, Cesar, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Paola. I'm really impressed about this huge participation to our meeting today, and therefore I will continue to address in Romanian language. Într-adevăr, îmi revine plăcuta sarcină de a...
It gives me the great pleasure to introduce the first technical session of this meeting. It will present an example of good practice at regional level by means of this project that was mentioned, the integrated control of nutrients project that is implemented by the Ministry of Environment, Waters and Forestry with the support of the World Bank. I had the great pleasure of coordinating it for a long period of time until the beginning of this month as a senior environmental expert of the World Bank. The general objective of this project is first and foremost to support the Romanian government in meeting those conditionalities that result from the enforcement of the Waters Framework Directive, but also of the special conditions requirements resulting from the directive of the EU on nitrates. As a general and important aspect, I have to mention that in the last decade, we have observed an improvement of the quality of water and the Danube ecosystem. And this is due to the activities of the riparian countries, including the efforts of Romania. To be more precise, we were able to observe that the phosphorus and nitrogen emissions have decreased with 20 and 50% in the Black Sea Basin in the past 15 years. But in order to present this project into more detail, I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Mila, who is the director of the project implementation unit within the Ministry of Environment, Waters and Forests. Mrs. Mila, you have the floor. Apologies, I think the lady did not open her microphone, so we, the interpreters, cannot hear her. I don't know if this is the case for everyone.
Diana? Nu te auzim.
Thank you, Cesar, for your kind introduction. My presentation will be posted by the host, or I will post it.
It's already on the screen, madam.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, few words about Romania. We are an East European country, having almost 100% of its territory, including the Danube water basin. As Danube borders with more than 1/3 of its total land, Romania in the southern part, and flows into the Black Sea through the Danube Delta. So any point or diffuse pollution in Romania territory will finally reach Danube and the Black Sea. As agricultural, almost half of the territory of Romania is agricultural land. We have here 3 million farms. That means 1/3 of the total number of farms in Europe. Next. But out of these farms, around 90% are very small farms under 5 hectares, and they are working 29% of the agricultural land. Only 0.5 of the farms are over 100 hectares, covering half of the agricultural land. Next. So we have here in Romania a very polarized agricultural sector with very small farming and large intensive farms. We have in Romania the smallest European farm, like 0.something hectares, and also the biggest European farm of 64,000 hectares. But if you see the villages and of Romania, you can see a very scattered mosaic pattern of the plots with limited available space for building modern stables or individual marine manure storage, with need for further training, awareness, knowledge, transport. Although we have a decreased trend in the number of animals that are breeded in extensive management and an increasing trend of those breeded in intensive management, we still have a very large diffuse pollution from agricultural source. Next. When we started working on nutrient pollution from agricultural source back in 2000, Romania was an Eastern European country without any legal framework or financing in this field. The manure mixed with urban waste occupied large agricultural surfaces, and the rainwater loaded with nutrients and other pollutants infiltrated directly in the groundwater. No legal framework in place, no awareness, not even any link between agriculture and pollution. So we're starting from zero. Next. In this context, the challenges were numerous. When we started, the first reaction of the farmers were resistance and denial. The farmers considered that they are the food producers, and therefore they are feeding Romania. Therefore, the agriculture cannot be a polluter. The first project prepared between 2002 and implemented between 2002 and 2007 was financed by the GF within the Danube and Blexi Strategic Partnership Program. Moldova, Turkey, Georgia, Croatia, Serbia, Bulgaria implemented similar projects. The pilot project was a success in Romania, and we continued. Next. Sorry, no, back. Practically, we asked the World Bank for help to continue this project. We asked the World Bank because in 2007, Romania became part of the EU. And between 2008 and 2017, the nutrient pollution control project started to be implemented in Romania in nitrate vulnerable zones. It was a project sustained financially and with expertise from the World Bank with a loan of 50 million euro and also sustained by GF with a grant of $5.15 million US. This project was designed in order to cover 1/3 of the nitrate vulnerable zones as they have been designated in 2007. But in 2013, Romania started to apply all the provisions of the nitrate directive at the level of the entire country. Consequently, the project was not enough. So Romania asked World Bank an additional financing and continued the implementation of the project until 2022 at the level of the entire country with investments customized according with the real local needs and with selection criteria based on demand, performance and number of animals and pollution at local level. Next, please. So the overall development objective of all these three projects was presented before to support the government of Romania towards meeting the obligation related to implementation of the nitrate directive by reducing nutrients discharge to water bodies, promoting behavioral changes, and strengthening the institutional and regulatory capacity. 80% of the financing source have been invested in local community investments in manure management, in composting station, in biogas, but also in sewage systems. We have in this moment almost 200 investments in different stages of implementation, most of them finalized and working for a long time. But also 20% have been dedicated to soft interventions like behavioral change at farm level, updating the legislation on soil and water protection, the institutional strengthening or in the improvement of the water monitoring system. Next, please. So what we discover in these 20 years is that besides investments in infrastructure and institutional capacity strengthening, there is something that we can hardly do a successful project without. And this is our public information, awareness, and knowledge center. We developed the project as a tree. The investment represents the roots, but we cannot exit the ground and we cannot cover all the farmers, the entire country without investment, without public awareness, without campaigns and knowledge transfer networks. Because only in this way we can put the project on the agenda, the daily agenda of all our target public. So 80% of the projects in investment generally in community facilities for manure storage using aerobic composting. The aim of these investments is to gather and to collect the manure from all the small farmers or most of the small farmers at the level of one community and compost it, manage it correctly in a very good facility and spreading it afterward after composting on the agricultural land. Next, please. Next. The need of investments in communal manure platform had a very practical reason. It is a viable, cost-effective option compared with the one in which the small farmers are building their own individual platforms. For each individual manure storage, there is need of funding or financing. It's difficult or impossible to obtain the permits and to accommodate the platform at the level of the very small farm. So these communal level managed platforms are designed to for communities that have more than 1,000 livestock units equivalent. This is the equivalent of a very large farm. They prove over years of implementation and monitoring that to be essential for solving the manure pollution problem at local level and for helping the farmers to obtain European subsidies legally, as they are in accordance with all the EU eco-conditionalities. In this moment, we constructing 134 communal manure management platforms that are fully functional at the level of communities, and we still have 56 under construction to be finalized by the end of this year. Next, please. But constructing manure platforms at the local level is not enough. It's very important to help the communities to use them according with the scope, to instruct them to find the best solution at local level in order to make the farmers use this manure composting facility. The monitoring over time, in a long time, we are still monitoring platforms that have been constructed in 2002 and 2003. And also sustaining the communities to find solution to new problems, to actual problems, also to increase the sustainability, the financial sustainability of this environmental investment was crucial in order to have a good to reach the objective of the project. Next, please. Anyhow, all these investments have been provided with water quality monitoring systems as piezometers, and also with the proper equipment for collecting, composting, and spreading the manure on the farmers' fields after the composting, and also on the local pastures. Next, please. Another solution was the biogas. The biogas using manure from different large farms, also constructed at the level of one community. That was a solution for manure management that proved its efficiency for generation of electrical power and heat from biogas, while reducing both the nitrate pollution and ammonia and methane emissions in the air. These pilot investments financed by the GF funds has at this moment more than 6 years of continuous functioning and monitoring of the parameters, and proved to reach all its environmental objectives, although it encountered numerous difficulties in operation. But while next please. While we are still channeling most of our financing investments and also most of our efforts, we are shifting an important part of our attention towards the knowledge sharing. The knowledge-based agriculture, the knowledge-based water protection as part of the knowledge-based society are already here. We have more and more available solutions which are sustainable financially and environmentally by design. Knowledge transfer on sustainable use of water is a must. Without awareness and know-how, farmers are having limited incentives to adapt the farming practices. Yes, cross-compliance helps, but control is only for around 1% of the farmers and not always followed by advisory system in place or prevention system. That's why our approach is involving directly the farmers and the farmer association and the communal organization. The needs are numerous: information, advice, training, knowledge transfer. But our strategy was that if you give them the will and the knowledge, all the farmers, all the communities of farmers will find the means in order to reach the behavioral change that practically is our ultimate scope in this project. So we continued. The seed was the small GEF grant in 2002. And we developed it at the level of Romania in the national program. Why and how? What were the main the drivers behind replication and scaling up? Next, please. First of all was the regional context, the priority given to the promoted action of the projects. It was also the fact that Romania became part of the EU in 2007. So we started to implement the European legislation. And also the common agriculture policy proved over time to be the strongest EU tool on water protection. But also it was the fact that all the action, the promoted action of the project, all the investments have proved to be environmental efficient, but also in the same time having the social acceptance and financial sustainability assured. There were simple investments with very low operating costs, most of them. We had customized interventions and also customized investments, taking into consideration the local particularities. We also let the beneficiaries, the communities, ask for investments to compete to and we selected the investments on a demand-driven request. That's why there was a pressure from the beneficiaries to us and not back from the central level to local level. In this way, we develop ownership regarding the investments, and in this way, we are trying and succeeding to increase the demand of such investment and also to increase the use, the financially, the environmental use of these investments. The information and awareness prove over time very beneficial, including in increasing the demand of the beneficiaries for environmental investments. And there is also the political will, of course, that because we always have been very supportive. Next, please. We are at the end in the last year of implementation of this project, but we are hope that we are not at the end of this program. Romania will continue to invest and also to apply the European legislation for reducing the nutrient pollution. But what are the lessons learned meanwhile? First of all, is that we always need an increased coordination between environment, between water sector and agriculture institution, in order to design and implement sound integrated implementable policies. Also, we always correlated the nitrates with the nitrogen pollution. When we communicate about nitrogen, not only about nitrates, and correlated the nitrogen emission reduction policies with animal welfare standards. Also, we communicated not only about the water quality, but also about climate change and green gas emissions. It's very important to assure the sustainability of the investments, the long term, but also the sustainability of the knowledge transfer networks established within the project, also of the campaigns that have been done. And over time, although we change a lot in the design of the investments and we adapted to the local communities, still the investments remain a challenge, both technically and financially. So even for the next period, we are expecting to have challenge in the investment area. Thank you very much.
Diana, thank you very much for this excellent presentation. I know that we are a bit in delay with our agenda, but if there are some burning questions, we can take one or two for 2-3, not more minutes. If not, we can continue with the second session.
Cesar, this is Paola. I have a question, if I can.
Okay,
if
Paola,
I'm allowed,
please.
just
Please.
because I'm so interested in replicating these projects in our country, because it's an amazing project. Congratulations, Nayan and Cesar.
Thank you.
And the question is, what do you think, what do you think is the main argument to convince the government that this is important? Because a lot of spillovers are regional, right? So what are the national benefits that convince the government and the farmer to do it?
Well, on my side, I think one of the most important benefit which should be taken into account by the government is the general public health. And when I am speaking about this public health in the rural area, this is indeed a very, very huge challenge for countries like those around the Black Sea. So this is important because on one hand, it's normal for the people to develop a lot of activities for ensuring food for such food industry, but on the same time, the control about pollution is pretty weak. So this is important. For other countries, the more and more will occur incentives in the agriculture field, and such incentives should be available or will be available only if some clear requirements will be met, like the one to ensure proper storage and management of such animal waste. So there are huge challenges in the rural space for this type of activities. But maybe Nayana could quickly add something.
Yes, it's absolutely true. The public health, it was the first and the initial reason. It's true also that the baby blue disease that is produced by nutrient polluted waters decreased tremendously in Romania over the last 20 years. But over time, the things changed a lot in Romania. We are not in the same country as in 2002 when we started. We are not in the same, we don't face the same realities. Practically, when 1 million farmers started to fight for 1 billion European money, and all things changed a lot. You know, until that moment, all the farmers practically consider that they are obliged to have correct manure management or environmental practices. But in that moment, when all this European money started to be to have as a condition the agro-environmental conditionalities, including the proper manure management, in that moment, the farmers realized that they really have a problem and started to press the government to do something. And the strategy of the government was not to kill the small farmers. The strategy was to sustainably develop the traditional farming, the small and medium farms. And that's why this type of investments proved to be very efficient, also for environment, but also for them in order to comply with the European conditionalities.
Any other question or clarifications? There is a hand raised from Mr. Constantin. Okay, Mr. Constantin.
Just to add to this question, because, okay, from the government point of view, we appreciated very much this project. One is because it's for public health. Second, because it's for the environment in general, the Black Sea particularly. And you know that every summer when you go to the seaside, you see the algal bloom and you are not satisfied with this. You don't like it. This is something visible. And third, very important, people realize that the manure and the proper management of the manure, it's a resource. It's a resource. Practically, we will have this circular economy. In fact, what is happening, we are just passing the resources through us, through the animals, and then they return and just use it. And this was something to be shown to the people, and also for the environment in general. This will be it was a good opportunity to show the benefits for the environment. Maybe we are not realizing this, but you know, showing the results on the water quality, on the underground water quality, and for the government at the end, very important it was that we comply with or try to comply or manage to comply with the Nitrate Directive and Water Framework Directive, which is very important for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Constantin. Any other questions? Maybe only to add in 1 minute, one other extremely important and very new, extremely modern initiative that this project is bringing now. The project is involved in a very new research program developed by the International Atomic Energy Agency. And because of this project, Romania is the single country in Europe that has been selected for this pilot research program, which will bring in a few years a very important and useful set of tools to identify very precisely the source of pollution coming from agriculture, from other sources, especially on water and surface waters and underground waters, but also on soil. This is to be done by analyzing specific isotope fingerprints. And this is extremely new and modern methodology, that state-of-the-art methodology that will be used quite soon. And the main advantage is that by using such type of methodology, you can determine extremely precisely the source of pollution. Is coming from animal, is coming from human, is coming from other chemical aspects. And the advantage for the governments is that they can put much more precisely the investments where these are needed to solve the problem. So this is another excellent initiative that this project will bring for Romania and for other countries. Okay, I think, Irina, can we pass to the second session?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Niculescu. Good afternoon once again. I just want to say that I was honored to be also appointed as a moderator of this important second session. And we were initially allocated 30 minutes, but I think we are a bit, we need to be a bit faster. So I'm now delighted to welcome two experts which have been appointed to carry out the legal and institutional analysis for our pollution report and also for pollution diagnostic report. So please meet Mr. Owen McAllentyre and Ms. Nicola Bertolini. But before giving the floor to our consultants, I would like to mention to you that because the time slot is very short and we will have certainly not enough time for the Q&A session. So I would like to suggest that all your questions you could raise in the chat box so that we could collect and address all your questions during our next meeting or other relevant meetings. I also wanted to introduce you the team of the project. So you already met today Ms. Paola Agustini. She is a task team leader. Please also meet Ms. Eulina Milova. She will be a co-task team leader, and the two experts that I already mentioned. So now please kindly switch the slide for me. Before I just wanted, thank you. I just wanted very briefly to present you the overall program development objective, which is in fact to improve the national and regional knowledge on the sources, prevention and the mitigation of our key marine pollutants for the Black Sea, and also to strengthen the case for the improved regional collaboration. So the program will be actually based on the two main activities. The first one will be to carry out the analysis and the diagnostic itself. And the second activity, which is actually not less important, will be dealing with the consultations and dissemination and outreach activities. So now, I wish to give the floor to Mr. Owen McAllentyre. He was appointed as an expert on legal and institutional aspects related to water and marine pollution. He will be presenting you now the outline of the legal and institutional analysis and also its main objectives. So please welcome Mr. McAllentyre. So the floor is yours, Owen.
Thank you, Irina. I will be very brief. I just want to take this opportunity to introduce the legal and institutional analysis that we will be conducting in parallel with the pollution diagnostic analysis, and which will contribute to the pollution diagnostic analysis. What we aim to do is to look at and to examine the legal framework and any gaps and deficiencies within that legal framework for addressing pollution of the Black Sea marine environment. Now, to look at pollution of the marine environment is a very, very broad exercise, and it means looking at a great many sources. But the Black Sea like other inland or confined seas and regional seas, and like ocean pollution more generally, is very largely due to pollution from land-based sources. So we are focusing very much on, oh, sorry, could I ask you to move forward the slide, please? So we are looking very much at pollution from land-based sources. And within that, we were looking at a couple of pollutants which represent a particular problem. So we are looking at nutrient pollution, which of course we have heard quite a bit about earlier today. So nutrient pollution of the Black Sea environment, and also chemical pollution and oil pollution, particularly from hotspots, industrial hotspots, coastal areas in the Black Sea coast and along the major drainage basins which drain into the Black Sea. So we're trying to focus in on a range of particularly significant land-based sources of pollution. We aim to identify the policy, legal and institutional gaps in respect of these sources of pollution at the international, regional and national level. So in international, regional and national law and institutions. And we want to also identify good industry practice in this area. Now, what we're keen to do is to address legal fragmentation, and which results in gaps in coverage of legal and policy frameworks and in overlapping legal and policy frameworks. And very importantly, to address problems of effective implementation and enforcement of those legal and policy frameworks that we already have in place. So this will involve looking at general rules on protection of the Black Sea marine environment, at more specific rules looking at marine pollution from land-based sources, and looking at implementation and enforcement. And we are doing this on two levels. We will conduct a regional study, but also a national study of national legal, policy and institutional frameworks in the 6 participating states, 5 of the Black Sea coastal states and Moldova. So for that purpose, we are recruiting national experts to conduct those national studies, subject to the parameters that are being finalized for each of those national studies. I'm very happy to say that we have secured the services of a Romanian consultant, Dr. Victor Marcuson. And so we have our team now practically, or pretty much in place and are ready to go. I think I can leave it at that, Irina. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Owen. Meanwhile, let me remind you that you can write your questions in the chat box. Now the turn is of Mr. Nicola Bertolini. He will be presenting you the outline, the suggested implementation arrangement, as well as the timelines for the pollution diagnostic report. So please, Nicola, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Irina, for the floor. Good afternoon, everybody. I am here bringing the greetings from all the team approaching the diagnostic pollution exercise. Well, the methodological approach of the diagnostic pollution activities we are performing is fully aligned with what Owen previously introduced. We are working at 2 levels, first of all. The national and the regional level will be analyzed to get an individual understanding of each country in the Black Sea, and then we will gather the whole information in a unique regional report, emphasizing which are the aspects that should be approached from technical and from policy legal point of view. With regard to our activities, the objective of this consultancy assignment is to conduct the pollution diagnosis of the Black Sea. The diagnosis we will focus, therefore, and in several countries, which are the Georgia, Moldova, Turkey, and Ukraine. Then we will present the respective pollution national papers. Based on these pollution background papers, a synthesis report will be presented in a diagnostic of the Black Sea pollution. What is important to emphasize? In order to empower the result of our activities, of our studies in this diagnostic exercise is important to get the voice of all the stakeholders involved. Therefore, today we are starting this exercise, this approach to understand from your side, from Romania as well, which are the main key pollution problems affecting the Black Sea in your country. Because we would like, the aim of our study is to get more information as possible about the key pollution problems and try to give some outline about how those problems can be approached at a regional level. Basically, point by point, which are the activities we will perform. We will conduct mapping of pollution sources and hotspots. We will develop a balance of nitrogen and phosphorus pollution for the Black Sea catchment. Which is innovative in this exercise is to work through the Delphi method in elaborating the business as usual scenarios. What's happened if nothing will change, if we continue in this way? This is the main question that together with these studies, we would like to share to all community of the Black Sea. All the information we will therefore reported in the final report. Again, last but not least, the stakeholder strategy, the stakeholder voice, the dissemination of our information will be relevant for giving a more appropriate to empower the final result of the studies. Next, please. Here is the structure of our final report. Next, please. What is important to align is the timeline. In this year, we would like, the project is already started a few months ago. We would like to arrive at the end of the year with to get the final results. What is important are the several steps, as you can see in this slide, which are the technical meeting with the regional community and providing and sharing the draft report from legal and from technical point of view to all the stakeholders as well. Next slide. Yes, I believe that my presentation is finalized. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicola. I see the hand raised by Mr. George Constantin. If this is the new question, I think we can give you some time before we proceed to our live survey. So please, Mr. George Constantin.
No, I forgot the hand.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So now we have some time left for presenting for your attention the list of questions to different stakeholders. Of course, the list is not explicit, but let us brainstorm on this a bit. I am now inviting you to participate in our live survey. You can see now details on the screen, and we will be having about 1 minute per question. And I kindly invite you to connect to our specialized system so that you could also vote, because of course your vote is very much important for us and really matters to the Black Sea. So let's see the list of questions. I hope you could manage to get online.
Irina, we just found out that the code on the top is different than the code on the presentation. So which one is the final code? It's if someone who is from the World Bank, can you help us to, because before starting to, can someone help us to understand which code is the final one? The one on the top of the presentation, or the one in the middle with the Romanian?
You have to use the one on the top, because if you use
on the top. All right. So the top is okay. Thank you very much. Sorry, Irina, for interrupting. I'm so sorry.
Thank you so much, Rosica, for noticing this discrepancy. So I hope that meanwhile the participants managed to get connected to the system. www.menti.com. So then you use the code. So I give you another 15 seconds to connect, and then I will read out the questions for you in English. You will also have them in Romanian language. So whatever language you choose, you can vote. So I hope we can move now, and I kindly ask you to switch for the first question. So the question number 1, will the legal and institutional analysis and the regional pollution diagnostic contribute to the regional efforts to address the marine pollution? So you have 3 options to choose. Please vote. You can also see the questions in Romanian language. I'm going to give you some more time to read the options. I think we have a very unique decision of the participants. So I think we should switch now to the question number 2, which is, does the scope of the diagnostic activities reflect on the main gaps that need to be addressed? So we have options yes, no, other. And I invite you now to vote. I give you another 20 seconds. I promise to give you 1 minute per question, but as far as I understand, you are very fastly addressing our questions. Thank you so much for your attention and for your active participation. So now, please kindly switch the next question. Question number 3. Are there any other similar or relevant existing projects and initiatives at national and regional levels that we should consider? I see you're voting very fast. So it seems that there are similar and relevant projects that could be helping the project to be implemented. So now, as you indicated, yes, the continuation of the same question, and I kindly ask you to switch to the next slide, please. Thank you. So if you mentioned yes, if you voted yes, what are the projects that overlap in your view? So here you can drop a line for us so that we can see the names of the projects or initiatives that could be overlapping with the initiative that we are discussing today. So waiting for your voting. I'm going to give you some more time to address this question. Okay, we started receiving the answers. Anemone project. Yes, we have some sentences. Yes, we have MSFD mentioned, ICZM for the Black Sea. We have the CBC projects. Thank you for being such an active participant. I will give you another 15 seconds to address your answers. Thank you very much once again. I think I will be asking Evie to help me with switching the next slide, please. So the question number 5, what are the most important pollution sources and human activities impacting the health of freshwater ecosystems in Romania that we will need to consider? So you have some options to address, and I invite you to vote. Yes, we received the answers. I will give you another 10 seconds. and I really appreciate you being so proactive in our voting. So another 5 seconds and we proceed, because I still see the columns moving. Okay, so please kindly switch the slide. Thank you. So the question number 6, can institutional, legal and policy framework reform in Romania help us to address the pollution issues in the waterways? You have the 3 options, which says that reform is needed, which says that it's already sufficient, and which says that it is already well developed, but still lacks some implementation tools. Thank you very much. I give you another 15 seconds to address this question. So now we can finally see it's written in Romanian. It was some delay, so I think I will give you some more time. Okay, great. We are moving now to the next question. The question is, how could the World Bank support Romania's effort to ensure the pollution-free development of the blue economy in the Blexi region and its waterways? So here we expect from you to provide some short answers, up to 1 sentence. Please drop us a line, and we expect you to elaborate on how the World Bank can support Romania's efforts. I think the sentences will be very long. There will be a wish list to the World Bank. Okay, we started receiving some answers. Okay, as we saved some time before, I'm going to give you like 1 minute to address it, because yes, we started getting your answers. Thank you. Yes. Great. Another 20 seconds. We need to collect as many answers as possible. That would really help us to introduce it to the main idea of the project and to the documents that were presented today. Okay, some 10 seconds more and we will be moving forward. Yeah, thank you. I see very long answers. That is really helpful for us. We're still receiving your answers, and many thanks for being proactive once again. So I think it's time to move to the next question. Okay, so the list of questions is finished. As you may see, we were trying to embrace the whole range of our concerns, of our challenges. We will be, of course, as I mentioned before, be happy to collect all your feedback, also in the chat box, as well as during the following sessions and the upcoming project meetings. So now we will be finalizing our session. I wish to thank all our speakers, all of you, for your proactive position, for your kind attention. Let me now pass the floor to my colleague, Ms. Mihaela Mire, for the next session. Mihaela is a representative of Romanian National Hub for Common Maritime Agenda. She is also wearing a hat of Executive Director of the Mare Nostrum NGO for Romania. So please, Mihaela, the mic is yours.
Thank you very much, Irina. It's indeed a great honor to be here in the meeting today. And on behalf of the Romanian National Hub, I want to thank everyone, and especially BSEC Premise, for giving us the opportunity to be part of this very important meeting that we are following also as a National Hub with great attention, and also the Blexi Assistance Mechanism is following the results of this consultation today. I will leave in the chat box my email address for all of you who want to join our network in Romania. And I now I'm a moderator of the third session of the meeting today, dedicated to the Brewing the Blexi program, but with a special focus on the investment of this program, which I think is very, very important, because all the activities without the support of the financial part will not go very far away. So it's very good that this project will be also funded and will be supported. And I also want to ask all of you to stay in this session with us and to continue voting, because we will have some more questions for you that will help design the future program. And we to know more about this investment component, I will ask Ms. Rosica Stoeva to have a presentation in a more detailed way. Thank you.
Thank you, Michaela. Thank you, Michaela. Good afternoon from my side. My name is Rosica Stoeva. I'm Executive Manager in the BSEC Secretariat and a Project Manager of the BBC preparatory phase. As Ambassador Christidis has highlighted in the opening session, we in the BSEC Permis lay particular importance on the BBC program and its investment component, because we believe that it will help close the financial gap, particularly for projects with regional dimension in the Black Sea, where the efforts of one country alone are not sufficient to solve the problem. Next slide, please. When it comes to the key facts of this investment component of the BBC, this component has been built around these key elements. For example, the financing will be for approximately 6.4 million euros, and it comes from the Global Environmental Facility International Water Window. The Secretariat, the BSEC Secretariat, will be the executive body. When it comes to the long-term objective, we believe that this project will improve the environmental health of the Black Sea and increase social and economic benefits for the population. The implementation of the project will start in the third quarter of 2021 and will be implemented until beginning of 2025. Next slide. When it comes to the original component of the BBC here, the project can envisage the following very important activities: development of sustainable business standards and guidelines in the key sectors like aquaculture, agriculture, tourism, shipping, and water management. There will be capacity building in banking for green finance and innovation. There will be as well as awareness raising on issues of pollution in the Black Sea. And here some let's say some ideas of what could be done when it comes to those three very important activities. When it comes to the sustainable business standards and guidelines for investments in agriculture, aquaculture, tourism, shipping, and water management, they will be developed on the base of international best practices. Such standards could increase long-term investments into sustainable economic activities and projects. More specifically, environmental consideration may refer to climate change mitigation and adaptation, as well as the environment more broadly, such as the preservation of biodiversity, pollution prevention, and circular economy. Building green and innovative financial capacity of national and regional banks and financial intermediaries. It's also one of our activities that are envisaged. In this context, trainings may be provided on green technology investment, focusing pollution reduction and prevention. This activity will directly support the provision of grants for SMEs, startups, or public actors. Under this activity, there are plans to arrange a grant competition that will give chance to best practices and innovation for pollution reduction to get necessary funding for further implementation. Last but not least, for us, that is very important, this is awareness raising campaigns on issues of pollution. Here, cooperation with partners is envisaged, for example, the European Union, as well as with other projects with regional dimension, which have the same focus of interest or a similar one as, for example, Blexi Connect, Bridge, and etc. Evie, the next slide. When it comes to the possible implementation arrangements, the slide shows our current understanding of how the whole project can function over the next couple of years. As we can see, all relevant national and regional partners are considered to be included in this process, as well as international organizations, as for example, UNDP, FAO, and those implementation arrangements are still in consideration. And we very much hope to get some insights from our partners and the key policy makers, namely the ministries and regional organizations. So your participation is very important for us for the feedback and in order to understand what is the logic and what you actually want to achieve here in Romania. So I will stop here and I'll give the floor back to Ms. Mireia because that's actually the most important part, the interactive part of the discussion that's forthcoming, the survey. So Ms. Mihaela, the floor back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Stoeva, for the presentation of the for this component of the project. I will ask you, all of you, again, to go to menti.com and to use the code on top of the page. In this way, you will log in to go to the next part of our session dedicated to the questions addressed to you. And since this meeting is mostly dedicated to Romanian stakeholders, I will start speaking in Romanian to be more easy and more comfortable for this participation. Deci vă rog încă o dată să accesați.
So once again, kind request, access menti.com, introduce the code above in order to have access to the questions that we will have in this session, and in order to be able to bring your views and opinions in relation to this investment component of the Brewing the Black Sea project.
Vom putea începe partea de vot și ajungem la...
We will start the voting. The first question is... The request is to vote in a high number in order to bring the vision of Romania, which are the most important activities at regional level for Romania. Please select two of the answers. In Romanian, you also have the multiple choice up to 3 selections. If 3 options cannot be selected, 2 are more than enough. Let's see what are your chosen answers. We already have the answers. So knowledge exchange, awareness raising on the issue of pollution in the Black Sea. It seems that the public awareness is still very important in your opinion. And standards, sustainable business standards and guidelines in the key sectors. We already have a ranking. Thank you very much for your active involvement. I see that there are many persons voting, and this is wonderful. By doing so, the program will better answer your desires and the desires of the stakeholders, and you will be able to see yourselves in this program and contribute to its implementation. I think that we already have many answers for these questions. Let's move to the next one.
Și aceasta se referă la...
This one refers to what pollution reduction best practice would you like to learn from another country? Again, you can choose multiple answers. Practically, what you consider as being valuable to be shared with Romania by the other Black Sea riparian countries. We already have the first votes. I believe that until now, the first position is occupied by the green infrastructure or the better pollution management facility at major harbors. Another one is wastewater treatment facilities. For sure, technology is evolving and better solutions are arising in various areas. They can be learned and shared with other countries.
Sau voturi pe care doriți să le
Let's see if we have some other ideas or votes that you would like to share with us. It seems that we have stopped. Thank you very much for your votes. Let's move to the third question. To the next question. This is related to the previous one. It refers to several details. It refers to the good practices or projects from which you would like to get some information or from which you would learn. So this is a open answer type of questions. We are waiting for your proposals of projects or good practices that you would like to bring to your locality, respectively to Romania.
Fiind un răspuns deschis, probabil durează un
As
pic mai.
This is an open question type, open answer type of a question, it will take a bit more. You can answer either in Romanian or in English, however you feel more comfortable. We do not fully see them displayed on the screen, but the ones that will handle the survey and its interpretation will for sure see your answers as you have provided them. We will wait for a bit longer because most probably it's more difficult and it takes more time to write down the longer answers.
Însă aceste proiecte sunt extrem de importante.
These projects are extremely important because they represent starting points, at least in my opinion, and we can learn from our previous experiences and from the steps that our neighbors have already undertaken. Some projects were mentioned and they refer to the water flow before they actually discharge into the Black Sea, very important technologies. If there are no other answers, well, I think you can submit or forward your answers to BSEC. Good practices, countries that could represent an example of good practice, or other initiatives and learning programs or documents containing analysis or studies in the Black Sea, or documents containing information that are of interest to this particular program. I think we can move to the next question, and thank you for your answers.
Evident că este nevoie de un pic mai mult timp ca să ne gândim la
Of course, for
exemple.
such questions, we need more time to think. The next question, the third question, are there any particular standards and or procurement rules for sustainable business operation and investments in agrotourism, in agriculture, tourism and shipping? You have three answers: yes, no, I don't know, or maybe others. I think until now, I don't know is the highest ranking answer.
Un focus important ar trebui să meargă la
It
promovarea
seems that we should focus on promoting these standards or developing them where they do not exist.
avem din ce în ce mai multe voturi pentru nu
We
știu.
have most votes for I don't know and only one for yes.
Mai așteptăm câteva secunde.
Let's wait a little bit more. People are still voting on this topic.
Ok, mulțumesc.
Thank you for your votes. I believe that we can move to our next question.
Este dacă există aceste standarde și sau norme.
If you have responded to the previous question, could you please share more details? We had only one person answering yes, so I think we should have only one answer that should tell us which standard or norm did the person answering yes refer to, or if you have remembered such standards or good practices, please you can share your answers with us.
Ei bine, iată că rămâne o întrebare cu un răspuns încă neidentificat.
Well, apparently the answer hasn't been identified yet. Obviously, we have to insist more on this topic. Let's move on to the next question. Are there any institutions promoting investment in the circular green recycling technologies, waste management for the marine pollution reduction? This is also a question with 3 options, yes, no, or I don't know. We are referring to national or regional institutions promoting investment in the circular green and recycling technologies, waste management for marine pollution reduction. The I don't know option is ranking the first for the time being. You should choose the option that fits you best, because that will outline the future program, and it will help those ones designing it to have a clear idea of what is a priority for the countries around the sea. The I don't know option is the highest one, but we are still receiving some answers. I'll give you a few more seconds so that the people who haven't voted so far can send us their opinions. And now I think we should move on to the next questions. The next question. Thank you for your answers. We have successfully got to the assessment of this survey, which is a tool to measure your opinions. You also have 3 options to choose from. It was great, it was okay, or it was boring.
Participating in this survey and for sharing with us your opinions. I think they are very valuable for the work on this future program, Brewing the Black Sea. And with this, I will close also the 3rd session of today, and I will give the floor back to Ms. Rosica Stoeva, who will make the wrap-up and the closing remarks along with Ms. Prince Berenger.
Thank you, Michaela. Thank you very much. It was really interesting and very dynamic discussions, and thank you a lot for your participation. I will be very brief. First of all, allow me on behalf of the BSEA Secretariat to thank the participants for their active contribution to the discussions as well as to the survey. Your contribution will help us to form the architecture of the future BBC project, and your voice matters. It is very important for us. I would like also to thank the organizers of this event, the World Bank, the Blexi Commission, and the Ministry of Environment and Waters and Forestry of Romania. This is a good opportunity as well as to inform you that everything related to this event can be found on the BSVKC website. This is the Blue Economy platform that is managed by the Secretariat. I have already shared the link in the chat box. This is a very good opportunity for you to go and check the website, as well as to follow everything that is related to the event in Romania, as well as to the previous workshops that we already organized related to the BBC project. It's placed there, so I would like to let's say to invite you to go and check, as well as you can register as in the Black Sea Blue Economy Community Stakeholders platform. And to start receiving information related to different kind of projects, initiative, events that are happening in the Black Sea region. I would like to thank you very much and to give the floor back to Ms. Prince for the final remarks from the World Bank side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tovea. Before coming into the closing remark, I want to address one question that we received in the chat, because I think that was a very important question. I want to thank Ms. Anca Margineanu, who is part of the EU Connexus and was asking what the place for academia in this Brewing the Black Sea program. Maybe you got a little bit the response with the presentation. The project is working with, we want to work with everybody really. And maybe one activity in particular that would be better fitted for cooperation is, I think, the awareness raising program, which would actually would be good to work with students. I think the student would be wonderful in supporting, communication campaign on the importance of the pollution in the Black Sea. And I'm thinking that there are some also connection with the eco-grant competition. As you heard, the eco-grant competition will not take place in Romania per se. It's going to take place in other countries, but this is a regional network, I understand. So there's no reason that we can't cooperate on that. So I hope I answered the question, and thank you very much for asking that question. Noah, let me maybe do like a quick, because we have time, we went a little bit faster in the end. So a very quick recap of our today's session. We had at the top of our session, we had more than 80 participants, and I think where we had the most participants was in our first session, and I'm not surprised. The opening remarks were wonderful. We had a good diversity of speakers from regional institution. Financing is in the Ministry of Environment, Waters and Forests of Romania, also give very important comment. And my takeaway message is Romania is a leader in regional cooperation. I mean, it was when Romania had the chairmanship of the European Union Council that the CMA declaration was signed in 2019. That tells a lot about Romania's leadership. And I felt it during this meeting, the way the intervention, the focus, it was really, you could see the regional leadership on one hand, and the true commitment for improving the health of the Black Sea. That was very vibrant during all the discussion. I think we had the wonderful first session moderated by Cesar, presented by Nayana. This project, this integrated nutrient pollution control project, has so many lessons for us. And I would just keep one. It's not just only about investment. Investment, of course, is important, but it's about all the knowledge network you build around this investment and all the connections. So it's as much concrete, and also all the knowledge and the network that comes with it. So thank you very much. And I like other participants there, I really hope we can replicate and disseminate this model. As I always say, it's easy to do a water treatment facility for an urban center. All the pipe leads to the facility. It's another story when we are talking about thousands and thousands of small farmers, that you don't connect them with the pipe. It doesn't work like this. So this kind of project, it really is a best practice, and Romania is a leader in that. Now I want to go into the poll, and we got actually, we got very interesting feedback today. Like in other countries, nutrient is perceived as a problem, the pollution problem #1. And that is actually very consistent with all the other CMA countries we had the consultation. Something that was new is the interest for green infrastructure. That actually made me really happy. I am a big and strong believer of green infrastructure. So that's something we're happy to get confirmation on. There is a role for green infrastructure to help with pollution and also with climate change. It's a double win here. Now, in concluding, I want to thank everybody. You see the people in front of the scene. There is also all the people behind the scene. Martin, who prepared the survey, Evie, that's turning all the slide, and you know, making sure that everything's going to work smoothly is actually require a lot of support, and the link to Facebook and everything. So Nigara and Taco and Mihai, all of those people, you didn't see them on the screen, but they worked really hard to make this consultation a success. I want to thank also my colleague from BSEC, from the Ministry of Environment, Water and Forest for co-organizing this event. And as you can see, it's a partnership. We had Irina from the Blexi Commission facilitating, and the Common Maritime Agenda National Hub of Romania. Usually we have our colleague from EU also coming in. That today was not possible, but I'm very moved and excited that this is a collective effort. So with that, I think we can conclude this wonderful consultation. I want to thank you everybody for your active participation, and we'll look into the result of the survey. Everything's going to be put online too. So thank you so much, and you're going to hear from us in few time. Bye bye. Have a safe trip back home for those of you who have to go back, and thank you very much.
Thank you.